The most beneficial and interesting knowledge, the most marvelous teaching of the Buddha, the essence of Buddha Abhidhamma by Dr. Meh Tin Mon, 3rd edition. This is the content, and we are going to start with still the content. Okay, so forward. The prophecy that an able person would soon appear to contribute to the world of knowledge in the field of Buddhist psychoethical philosophy, which we commonly appreciate as Buddha Abhidhamma, has now come true. The prophecy was made by my revered old teacher, Bhadanta Narada Mahatera Agamaha Pandita, who was well known as the original Patana master. He made the prophecy in 1952 while I was studying Yamaka and Patana treaties under his guidance. He assigned me and my colleague, translator Professor Tain Newt, to translate his writings on Abhidhamma. The task was never fully accomplished as I was occupied with teaching at the Pali and Abhidhamma department of the University of Yangon and later transferred to the International Institute of Advanced Buddhistic Studies at Kaba Aye as head of research department. Thereupon my disappointed old teacher Bhadanta Narada Mahatera, with full expectations, prophesied that pretty soon an able scholar will emerge to accomplish the noble task of presenting Abhidhamma in English to the world. So now appears a novel and authentic treatise entitled The Essence of Buddha Abhidhamma by Dr. Meh Tin Mon. Dr. Meh Tin Mon is a man of science, for he was trained in the University of Illinois, USA, for his master's degree and doctorate degree in chemistry, and then he served his country for several years as professor of chemistry. He is also a man of arts, as he has written several illustrative books on education as well as on Buddhism, and his books are widely read by the public. So his approach to Abhidhamma is very scientific as well as artistic. Dr. Meh Tin Mon has been conducting long courses as well as short intensive courses on Abhidhamma in many towns throughout Myanmar. His Abhidhamma classes draw the attention of large crowds, as his unique ability to compare Abhidhamma with science as well as with Western philosophy makes the subject very interesting and stimulating. He emphasized the fact that the teachings of Lord Buddha in Abhidhamma are very scientific, and that Abhidhamma goes much deeper than natural sciences, encompassing a much wider field. As I was trained at the Harvard Divinity School and Harvard Graduate School of Arts and Sciences 3 decades ago, and has engaged myself as a research scholar in the field of historical, philosophical, and religious sciences for many years, I heartedly agree with Dr. Meh Tin Mon in regarding Abhidhamma as the ultimate science, the science of the ultimate truths. Culture, philosophy, history, and many other common mundane subjects can be studied thoroughly through the media of natural and human sciences. But the divine elements in religious studies can be probed and realized only by means of divine science. However, the ultimate supramundane things which are beyond divinity can be realized only through the ultimate science. So, Abhidhamma or ultimate science surpasses all other historical, philosophical, and religious sciences. Philosophy is a noble science, but it cannot be said to excel all other sciences because it does not embrace the whole universality of things as Abhidhamma. Universality of things as Abhidhamma. Abhidhamma analyzes mind and matter in minute detail into ultimate realities and shows the way to eternal peace called Nibbana. These ultimate realities are unknown to philosophy and all other sciences. Dr. Mem Tin Mon enlightens the readers extremely well with his Buddha Abhidhamma, ultimate science. A reader can derive more benefit from this book in 1 week than from a lifetime of pondering the philosophies of others. This treatise is really a new version of the Compendium of Buddhist Philosophy after the design of the well-known book called the Abhidhammatta Sangraha, the Compendium of Buddhist Philosophy written by Wu Shui Zhan Aung and published by the London Pali Text Society in 1910. Dr. Mech Tin Mon perfected and augmented it still further by the extraordinary quality of his intellect and all the superb patrimony of wisdom which he inherited from his predecessors. As a matter of fact, I have studied the subject in conjunction with the ultimate science at the Department of History and Philosophy in Harvard University from the theological point of view, but I am more thoroughly convinced and lucidly enlightened in the conception and meaningfulness of the subject only now after I have read this new book presented by Dr. Mech Tin Mon. It is really a very hard task to read such a profound work like this. May all scholars therefore unanimously and sincerely welcome this superb work on Abhidhamma, and may Abhidhamma enlighten the whole world. Sao Tun Hmat Win, Advisor to the Ministry of Religious Affairs, Union of Myanmar. Ultimate science. Natural sciences investigate the basic principles and laws of nature to explain the physical phenomena that have been occurring for aeons. But they cannot probe the nature of the mind, and they fail to explain the mental phenomena that have enormous influence on physical phenomena. Lord Buddha, with his power of omniscience, knew the true nature of the mind and correctly described the causal relations that govern mind and matter, and thus can explain all psychophysical phenomena in the world. His ultimate teaching, known as Abhidhamma, describes in detail the natures of the ultimate realities that really exist in nature but are unknown to scientists. His method of verification is superior to scientific methods which depend on instruments. He used his divine eye to penetrate the coverings that hide the true nature of all things. He also taught others how to develop mental concentration and how to observe with their mind eyes the true nature of all things, and finally, the Four Noble Truths, which can enlighten one to achieve one's liberation from all miseries forever. So, Abhidhamma may be regarded as ultimate science, the science of the ultimate truths. Dr. Mem Tin Mon. Preface. Buddha's teachings, the teachings of Lord Buddha in the course of 45 years of his Buddhahood, have been divided into three collections called Tipitaka in Pali, meaning three baskets, literally. The first collection is known as Sutta Pitaka. It is the conventional teaching, Vihara Desana, in which the Buddha used common vocabulary to explain his teachings. Practical aspects of tranquility meditation and insight meditation are included in this collection. The second collection is called Vinaya Pitaka. It is the authoritative teaching, Ana Desana, in which the Buddha used his authority over the monks to lay down rules and disciplines for them to follow. These disciplines embody the highest code of ethics and can surely purify one's action, speech, and thought, thus making one noble and respectful. The third collection is Abhidhamma Pitaka. It is the higher teaching of the Buddha. Here the Buddha employed abstract terms to describe the ultimate realities, paramattas, in the universe, and Nibbana, which is the summum bonum and the highest goal of Buddhism. So, Abhidhamma may be regarded as the ultimate teaching, Paramatta Desana, of Lord Buddha. The principles and the causal relations which the Buddha expounded in Abhidhamma are so natural, so logical, and so beautiful that they can pinpoint the root causes of miseries in the world and the ways to eradicate these causes. The most wonderful thing about the Buddha's teaching is that the teachings contain both principles and practicals, and they clearly and exactly define the human values, the best moral code, the eternal peace, and the noble eightfold path leading to that peace. All these valuable teachings have been verified time and again by millions of noble persons who had trodden on the noble path, and can still be verified at any time, at any place, by any able person who will earnestly and steadfastly follow the path. The significance of Abhidhamma. Sutta Pitaka and Abhidhamma Pitaka are collectively known as Dhamma, a Pali word meaning the doctrine or the teaching of the Buddha. The Dhamma is the doctrine that can salvage persons who abide by the Dhamma from falling into the four woeful abodes, apayas, and that can purify the mind from defilements so as to achieve lasting peace and happiness. The prefix abhi is used in the sense of preponderant, great, excellent, sublime, distinct, marvelous, etc. Abhidhamma Pitaka is more preponderant, more sublime, and more marvelous than Sutta Pitaka in the sense that 1. Abhidhamma Pitaka contains more Dhamma groups, Dhamma Khandas, than Sutta Pitaka and Vinaya Pitaka. Abhidhamma consists of 42,000 Dhammakandas, whereas Sutta Pitaka and Vinaya Pitaka contain 21,000 Dhammakandas each. The Buddha used more numerous methods in expounding Abhidhamma than when he taught Sutta Dhamma. Third, in Abhidhamma, the Buddha analyzed mind and matter in minute detail in terms of the ultimate realities known as paramattas. These paramattas will be explained in the introduction chapter. As Abhidhamma describes the nature and the working of the mind in detail, reveals the natural truths, including the highest universal truths, known as Four Noble Truths, and analyzes mind and matter to the ultimate basic level. Abhidhamma should be designated as supreme psychology, supreme philosophy, and ultimate science of the Buddha. What is the mind? Philosophers used to refer to the mind and matter as the two basic principles of the living world, but they failed to come to a unanimous conclusion as to what the mind is. Psychologists began their task by probing the nature of the mind, but when they cannot specify and characterize the mind, they turn to the behavior of animals and man. Thus, psychology becomes the study of behaviorism rather than the science of the mind. Today's science possesses no instruments to detect the mind, so scientists tend to deny the existence of the mind and fondle the theory that the brain functions as the mind. This theory cannot explain the strange phenomena of the mind called telepathy, clairvoyance, extrasensory perception, psychokinesis, out-of-body experiments, life after death, etc., which cannot be denied by science today. Besides, a special brain research by Professor Sir John Eccles, the most prominent neurologist, has revealed that although the brain functions as a supercomputer, it requires an external agent to run it, just as ordinary computers need to be programmed by man. Isn't that external agent the mind? Yes, it is. Abhidhamma describes the mind as a combination of consciousness, citta, and mental factors, cetasikas. There are 52 mental factors. Some can defile the mind, some can purify the mind, and some are neutral. The total number of possible combinations between consciousness and mental factors is 121. These combinations account for the various states of the mind. They explain fully why the mind is sometimes bad and sometimes good, sometimes sad and sometimes happy, sometimes wicked and sometimes noble, etc. In the practical aspects of his teaching, Lord Buddha described several ways for developing mental concentration, samadhi, when the immoral mental factors such as greed, lobha, anger, dosa, restlessness, uddhacca, remorse, kucha, doubt, vichikicha, sloth and torpor, tinamida are subdued, not to arise in the mind, then the mind is in unperturbed, peaceful, and lucid state. This is the state of neighborhood concentration or access concentration, upachara samadhi, meaning it is close to absorption, jhana. At the state of access concentration, since defilements are absent from the mind, one enjoys tranquility and peace unmatched by sensual pleasure. A higher bliss is enjoyed when one can raise the degree of concentration a little higher to jhana concentration. In the jhana state, the mind remains focused and fixed at the meditation subject for hours. After developing 4 rupa jhanas and 4 arupa jhanas, one can go a step further to develop supernormal knowledge, abhinya. There are 5 mundane lokya supernormal powers. 1. Divine powers, iddhi vidha. 2. Divine ear, dibasota. 3. Divine eye, dibachaku. 4. Penetration of the minds of others, cettopariyanyana. And 5. Remembrance of former existences, pubenivasana anusati. These supernormal powers far surpass the powers of telepathy, clairvoyance, psychokinesis, etc. With divine powers, iddhi vidha abhinya, one can pass through walls and mountains without being obstructed, dive into the earth, walk over water, and fly in the sky. With divine eye, one can see the woeful abodes as well as the celestial worlds of deities, devas, and brahmas, and the beings who are dying and being reborn in the 31 planes of existence according to their karmas, volitional actions. With cettopariyanyana, one can see the minds of others and know their thoughts. The attainment of these supernormal powers is not, however, the goal of Buddhism. The penetrating power of the mind, accompanied by access concentration or jhana concentration, is utilized to observe the arising and the vanishing of mentality, consciousness, and its concomitant, and materiality, ultimate matter in the body. These mentality and materiality are invisible even under electronic microscopes, but they can be seen by the concentrated mind eyes. By meditating on the 3 common characteristics of mentality and materiality, namely impermanence, anicca, suffering, dukkha, and not self, anatta, and also on the causal relations between mentality and materiality, one is treading along the Noble Eightfold Path and will sooner or later attain the first Magga and Phala, path consciousness and its fruition. Then one becomes a stream winner, noble person, who can enjoy the unique bliss of Nibbana as much as he likes, and who is fully guaranteed never to be reborn in the woeful abode again. The stream winner, Sotapanna, can enjoy the transcendental peace of Nibbana whenever he chooses. If he continues with his Vipassana insight meditation, he will realize the 3 higher path wisdoms and 3 fruition wisdoms in due course and become an Arahant, perfect one, in this very life. Even if he does not continue with his Vipassana meditation, the stream winner will automatically become an Arahant in due course. In the Arahant, all the defilements are completely uprooted and destroyed, since these defilements are the real causes of all miseries. Their total destruction means complete happiness and eternal peace for the Arahant. Thus, by purifying the mind from all defilements which cause miseries and debate a person, one can become an Arahant who is among the noblest persons in the world of men and devas, and who can enjoy the highest lasting peace of Nibbana forever. So, to become an Arahant is the correct goal for men and deities, and this highest goal in life is attainable only through the correct analysis and understanding of mind and matter as taught by the Lord Buddha in Abhidhamma. It should be emphasized that whatever the Buddha had thought of us out of his omniscience and own experience can be known and verified by any able person with his own experience. He also showed the way how to do it. An intellectual treat. Abhidhamma deals with the realities that really exist in nature. It correctly and microscopically analyzes both mind and body, which constitutes this complex machinery of man. It describes the 6 sense doors in man, the 6 senses coming from outside, and the arising of cognitive processes when the senses come in contact with the sense doors. Various mental states together with the causes of these mental states are vividly enumerated. Wholesome and unwholesome thoughts and their consequences are elaborated. Also, the process of life and death and that of rebirth in various planes under the karmic force are clearly explained. Both mentality and materiality are very short-lived. They arise and perish in the order of a trillion, 10 on 12 times per second. So the view that consciousness flows like a stream is propounded by some modern psychologists like William James becomes extremely clear to one who understands Abhidhamma. The law of dependent origination and the law of causal relations are treated symmetrically and thoroughly in Abhidhamma. These laws find no parallel in Western philosophy. Finally, the 4 great noble truths, that is, the noble truth of suffering, the noble truth of the cause of suffering, the noble truth of the cessation of suffering, and a noble truth of the path leading to cessation of suffering, clearly come to light as one goes through Abhidhamma. These Four Noble Truths, are the ultimate universal truths that encompass all the causal relations in mundane as well as in supramundane levels. Those who can vividly see these noble truths with their concentrated mind eyes will become enlightened as noble persons. The essence of Buddha Abhidhamma. Just as natural sciences investigate the natural laws that control natural processes, also Abhidhamma investigates the natural truths that govern natural processes, but the level of treatment are different. All natural sciences such as physics, chemistry, biology, geology, geography, engineering, electronics, and medical science deal with matter and energy, the physical aspects of nature. Even psychology, which goes after behaviorism, cannot pinpoint the mind and analyze it yet. But it is the mind which leads the world and the life of everybody. All sciences and philosophies are produced by the mind, governed by the mind, and children of the mind. So the mind is undoubtedly the most powerful force in the world. Abhidhamma pinpoints the mind, analyzes and characterizes the mind, describes the functions of the mind, and puts the mind in its proper place. The true ability of every person lies in his mind. So nobody need look up to the sky and ask for help for some supernatural forces, for the most powerful forces lies within himself. Abhidhamma also tells about matter in relation to the mind. It also describes Nibbana, Nirvana, which is free from mind and matter. Natural sciences cannot turn a scoundrel to a nobleman, whereas Abhidhamma can. Scientists and philosophers cannot show the way to the cessation of suffering and to eternal peace, whereas Abhidhamma can. Scientists, philosophers, psychologists, and every lover of truth will find Abhidhamma to be a special intellectual treat. What knowledge is there in life which is more valuable than Abhidhamma, which is the ultimate teaching of the fully enlightened one? 2010 Revised Edition. In this revised edition of the Essence of the Buddha Abhidhamma, the Pali words in the headings and subheadings are changed to their respective English equivalents, and several Pali words in the description are also changed to their English equivalents for easy reading and easy understanding. Moreover, wherever the writing is not clear and not easily comprehensible, it is rewritten to make the meaning clear and precise. Finally, an alphabetical list of the English meanings of all the Pali words and that appear in this book is added as an appendix to help the readers and the learners to know the meanings of the Pali words readily. The author is greatly satisfied to note that this book is warmly accepted by many readers and learners worldwide, and that some scholars are translating this book into other languages. 2015 third edition. In this third edition, the whole text is revised to improve and further clarify the presentation of Abhidhamma teaching. I hope Readers will appreciate the marvelous teaching of the Buddha in Abhidhamma, which is really the most valuable golden knowledge in the world. May the readers understand the context important knowledge, the correct important knowledge about our mind, our existence, and our world, and make use of the Abhidhamma knowledge to gain the highest attainment in life. June 18, 2015. Dr. Martin Mon, PSc Honorable Yangon, MSc PhD USA, Professor Mahasaddhamma Jyotikadaja, Advisor to the Ministry of Religious Affairs, Union of Myanmar, retired. The Age of Analysis. Philosophers have now come to the age of analysis, but who can analyze mind and matter correctly and thoroughly as Lord Buddha has done more than 2,600 years ago? The correct analysis of mind and matter is the greatest achievement on earth, and the discovery of the natural correlations between mind and matter is the most beneficial discovery ever achieved by man. You will gain the greatest benefit if you strenuously study Abhidhamma, which systematically describes the intrinsic natures of the ultimate realities comprising mind, matter, and permanent peace, Nibbana. Introduction. A fitting introduction. The Abhidhamma Pitaka consists of 7 treatises, namely Dhammasangani, Vibhanga, Dhatukata, Puggalapanyati, Kattavatu, Yamaka, and Patthana. The subject matter of Abhidhamma is the 4 ultimate realities, paramattas, and the causal relations between them. The treatment of the subject matter is highly technical and remarkably systematic, making use of purely philosophical terms true in the absolute sense. If one can patiently study the treatise on Abhidhamma, one cannot but admire the profound wisdom and the penetrative insight of Lord Buddha. But it is not easy to study Abhidhamma on one's own effort, as one may easily get lost in the wilderness of abstract terms and strange methodology. There is, however, a well-known treatise called Abhidhammata Sangaha, which is the most fitting introduction to Abhidhamma. This treatise, written by Venerable Anuruddha, an Indian monk of Kanchipura, summarizes all the important points of Abhidhamma very systematically. The treatise, originally written in Pali, has been translated into several languages. In Myanmar, the subject matter of this treatise is included in the course of study for novices and monks and is also used as the course of Abhidhamma examination held every year throughout Myanmar by the Ministry of Religious Affairs. The present book, entitled The Essence of Buddha Abhidhamma, further elaborates the subject matter presented in Abhidhammata Sangaha in a simple and systematic manner with certain collaboration with scientific views and practical aspects. It is written more or less in the form which is used by the author as lecture guides in conducting Abhidhamma courses. The courses proved to be very successful, So the reader will find this book to be thoroughly clarified and interesting to study the essential facts of Abhidhamma. Abhidhamma is really the golden knowledge which will help one to discard the wrong views and to acquire the right view for one's total liberation from all mysteries, from all miseries. Two kinds of realities. 1. Conventional realities or concepts, paññātis. All living beings, inanimate things, and the names given to them are conventional realities. Living beings and inanimate things seem to really exist according to our sense perception. We can see them and even touch them. We give names to them so that we can refer to them in everyday communication. When we use those names such as man, woman, I, you, he, she, dog, cat, house, table, tree, in conversation, we feel sure that the objects which the names refer to really exist. However, these objects do not exist by their own right as irreducible realities. Their mode of being is conceptual, not actual. They are products of mental construction, not realities existing by reason of their own intrinsic nature. When they are examined analytically with wisdom, they disappear. For example, table is not a reality and it does not exist because when the pieces of wood in the table are taken apart, the table disappears. Similarly, a house is not a reality and it does not really exist, for it disappears when the roof and the walls are taken apart. Again, man, woman, dog, cat do not really exist, for they disappear when they are divided into head hairs, body hairs, nails, teeth, skin, flesh, blood, bones, heart, liver, lungs, intestines, etc. These components in turn do not really exist because they turn into ashes when they are incinerated. Also, names do not really exist by reason of their own intrinsic nature, for a person can choose any name he likes, and a particular thing that has been given different names in different languages. So living beings, inanimate things, and their names are conventional realities or concepts, paññātis. They seem to exist, but they do not really exist by their own right as irreducible or unchangeable realities. There is an interesting episode in the Buddhist chronicles between two wise persons, King Milinda and the Arhat Venerable Nagasena. The king asked, "By what name shall I know you, sir?" Venerable Nagasena answered, "My companions call me Nagasena, but the name and the person whom the name refers to do not really exist." The king commented, "If Nagasena and the person do not exist, to whom do people offer alms and who received these offerings? Since you received them, you really exist. Why did you tell a lie in spite of your high nobility?" Venerable Nagasena inquired, Your Majesty, did you come to this monastery on foot or by chariot? The king replied, I came by chariot. Venerable Nagasena inquired further, Well, then please show me your chariot. Is the horse the chariot? Is the wheel the chariot? Is the axle the chariot? Is the carriage the chariot? The king answered no to all these questions. When Venerable Nagasena remarked, Is there a chariot beside the horse, the wheel, the axle, the carriage, etc.? And the king again said no. When Nagasena commented, Your Majesty, you said you came here by chariot, yet you could not show the chariot. Why did you tell a lie in spite of your high honor? The king consented. There is no chariot beside the horse, the wheels, the axle, and the carriage. Just a combination of these things has been named the chariot. Venerable Nagasena remarked, Very well, Your Majesty, you should understand Nagasena as you understood the chariot. 2. Ultimate realities or paramattas. Ultimate realities, in contrast to conventional realities, are things that really exist by reason of their own intrinsic nature. These are the Dhammas, the final irreducible components of existence, the ultimate entities which result from a correctly performed analysis of all living beings and inanimate things. Ultimate realities are the ultimate components of living beings and inanimate things. They really exist, but they cannot be seen. The ultimate realities which permit no further analysis are called paramattas. This word is derived from parama, ultimate, final, and atta, reality. So by ultimate reality we mean something which cannot be changed into simpler things or divided into other things. It can neither be created nor destroyed by man. It really exists in nature and it holds on its characteristics till it perishes. It can stand the test of investigation by any method about its reality and real existence. Abhidhamma describes 4 classes of ultimate realities. First, consciousness, citta. It is the consciousness of a sense object or the awareness of a sense object. All sentient beings, including small insects like ants, possess consciousness since they are aware of sense objects. That is, visible objects, sounds, odor, taste, and tangible objects. Citta, ceta, cittupada, mana, mano, vijnana are synonymous. Second are the mental factors or cetasikas. Mental factors are concomitants of consciousness. They arise together and dissolve together with consciousness. They depend on consciousness for their arising, assist consciousness in the total act of cognition of each sense object, and influence the consciousness in several ways. There are 52 kinds of mental factors. What we call mind is a combination of consciousness and mental factors. There are 121 possible combinations of consciousness and mental factors that represent various mental states. Neither consciousness nor mental factors can arise independently. Consciousness and mental factors are collectively called mentality or nama. 6 important mental factors are described below. Lobha, greed, craving, attachment. Dosa, anger, hatred, ill will. Moha, ignorance or delusion. Alobha, greedlessness, non-attachment, generosity. Adosa, hatelessness, goodwill, tolerance, and loving kindness. Amoha is wisdom or knowledge. The first 3, greed, anger, ignorance, are immoral roots, the roots of immoral minds, and the main causes of all evil actions and suffering in the world. The next three, greedlessness, hatelessness, wisdom, are moral roots, the roots of moral, beautiful minds, and the main causes of all good actions and happiness in the world. The third is materiality or rupa. It is defined as that which changes form, color, or state owing to adverse opposite physical conditions such as coldness and hotness. Abhidhamma enumerates 28 types of materiality, which comprise the 4 primary elements, and 24 types of derived materiality. The 4 primary elements are the element of solidity, Pathavi, with the characteristic of hardness and softness, the element of liquidity, Apo, with the characteristic of cohesiveness and fluidity, the element of heat, Tejo, with the characteristic of hotness and coldness, and the element of motion, Vayu, with the characteristic of pushing and supporting. They are just like energy without form and shape. Matter and energy are interconvertible and so identical. The 28 types of materiality correspond to all essential matter and energy known in science. Since science knows only about matter and energy and is ignorant of the mind, it can explain only material phenomena, whereas Abhidhamma can explain all psychophysical phenomena in detail. This is the reason why the great scientist Albert Einstein said, "Science is blind without religion, and religion is lame without science." Buddhism is neither lame nor blind. However, for Albert Einstein also added the statement, "If there is any religion that would cope with modern scientific needs, it would be Buddhism." He also said that Buddhism would be the future cosmic religion. 4. Nibbana, eternal peace and unique bliss. It is the eternal peace and unique bliss which is realized when the causes of all suffering and the worldly fires of greed, anger, and delusion are totally eradicated. Nibbana is supermundane. It is beyond the sphere of mentality and materiality, which is the world of suffering. Nibbana is realized by the knowledge of the fourfold path wisdom and the fourfold fruition wisdom. It can be realized in this very life if one can successfully practice the threefold noble training of morality, concentration, and wisdom that represents the noble eightfold path. Nibbana always exists naturally, but we cannot see it because our mind is blinded by ignorance, greed, and anger, called defilements, kilesas, which defile and burn the mind. It is like the moon on the full moon day. Through the moon, surely, though the moon surely exists in the sky, we cannot see it when it's covered by thick clouds. When the clouds are blown away by strong winds, the moon becomes visible immediately. Similarly, we cannot see Nibbana because we are blinded by defilements. When all defilements are totally eradicated by the fourfold path wisdom, Nibbana becomes clearly visible. Two kinds of truths. 1. Conventional truth, samuttisacca. This truth takes conventional realities to really exist and speaks in terms of conventional realities. Any speech or expression using the names of living beings and inanimate things to mean as they are, conventionally accepted without any intention of lying, is called conventional truth. In our daily life, we use conventional names or vocabularies to express what we want to say. We accept conventional truths and we take man, woman, father, mother, son, daughter, teacher, pupil, upright person, wicked person, I, you, it, to really exist. So, if a man kills another man or steals another's property, it is a crime. If parents do not bring up their children properly, it is a breach of parent duty. If sons and daughters do not look after their aged parents, it is a breach of the duty of sons and daughters. So, we must accept and respect conventional truths in our daily life. We must respect our parents, teachers, and elders. We must develop loving kindness, compassion, and sympathetic joy towards all living beings. We must not neglect them, but respect them as every living being deserves due respect. In science, too, though only electrons, protons, neutrons, and energy exist, in the ultimate sense, we cannot deny and neglect the existence of atoms and molecules formed by the combinations of subatomic particles, as well as the existence of cells, organs, living beings, and inanimate things formed by the combination of atoms and molecules. But in explaining the nature of all things and all phenomena, we have to consider the characteristics of the ultimate fundamental entities called ultimate realities, for these will help us to understand the nature of all things and all phenomena. 2. Ultimate truth, paramatta satcha. It takes conventional realities not to exist in the ultimate sense and regards only ultimate realities to exist in the ultimate sense. Speaking in terms of ultimate realities is ultimate truth. To say that a man, a woman, I, and you exist is true according to conventional truth, but wrong according to ultimate truth. To say that only consciousness, mental factors, and materiality exist in the whole universe is true according to ultimate truth. Any principle and natural law which do not change on account of time and occasion and which always remain true is the ultimate truth. The teachings of the Buddha, which deal with natural phenomena such as the law of consciousness, citta, jnana, the law of karma, kamma niyama, the doctrine of dependent origination, paticca samuppada, the Four Noble Truths, Arya Satyas, etc., or ultimate truths. Elusive world and real world. Third, elusive world and real world. Ordinary human beings with a lot of defilements are called worldlings, putujanas. As worldlings, our minds are blinded by defilements, kilesas, and we cannot see the true nature of sense objects. So, we see living beings and inanimate things to really exist, and we regard them to be permanent, pleasant, persons and things beautiful and desirable. When pleasant sense objects come in contact with the sense organs, the eye, the ear, the nose, the tongue, and the body, pleasant feelings arise. We enjoy these feelings with joy and happiness. We even think that enjoying sensual pleasure is the real happiness in life. So we work hard throughout our lives to get much money and enjoy sensual pleasure as much as possible. We are not aware, however, that sensual pleasure is fleeting and transient. It perishes soon after it arises, leaving behind hunger, thirst, and hankering for more enjoyment. So sensual pleasure is a form of suffering designated by the Buddha, and a suffering due to change of conditions, viparinama dukkha. Romeo and Juliet in Shakespeare's play were very happy when they fell in love, and they thought love is a many splendid thing. But when they were separated by their parents, they were very unhappy and they committed suicide. Many heartbroken lovers committed suicide. Also, many billionaires committed suicide during economic depression because they lost many millions of dollars overnight when the prices of stocks and shares went down and they were attached to their money by greed. Actually, it is greed, not us, which craves for sensual pleasure, and when the desire craving of greed is gratified, we feel happy with the illusion that we get what we want. But greed never gives away its characteristic of craving. The more it gets, the more it craves for. So we shall never be really happy, and ungratified desires mean suffering. So we shall never be really happy, as ungratified desires mean suffering. Besides, we enjoy sensual pleasure with immoral minds rooted in greed, lobha, and ignorance, moha, which are the hottest fires and defilements, kilesas, and the mind causes of all suffering in the world, and the main causes of all suffering in the world. They create the elusive world and enjoyment of sensual pleasure, and they will send us to woeful abodes after death. In reality, all living beings are made up of consciousness, citta, mental factors, cetasika, and materiality, rupa. Inanimate things are made up of materiality only. All these ultimate realities are formless, shapeless, and they are arising and perishing very rapidly and incessantly. So they are really impermanent, anicca. And what is not permanent is unsatisfactory, and to be tortured incessantly by the dissolution of mentality, consciousness in mental factors, and materiality really amounts to suffering, dukkha. Moreover, as mentality, materiality, nama-rupa have no form and no shape, and they arise and perish extremely rapidly and incessantly, no person, no self, no soul, no ego, no jiva, no atta, no creator, no permanent entity really exists. This phenomenon is called not self, anatta. Furthermore, all living beings and inanimate things are neither beautiful nor desirable, for they do not exist in the ultimate sense. If we divide a beautiful lady like Miss Universe into head hairs, body hairs, nails, teeth, skin, flesh, blood, bones, heart, liver, lungs, intestines, pus, blood, feces, urine, etc., and examine each part carefully, we shall find no part to be beautiful, but all parts to be repulsive and disgusting. The saying that beauty is skin deep is correct. If we peel off the skin of Miss Universe, it will amount to just a handful smeared with blood and totally disgusting. No gentleman will like to accept it. The remaining body will be equally disgusting as a deskinned lamb carcass in a butcher's shop. Thus, all living beings are inanimate, and inanimate things have the characteristics of impermanence, anicca, suffering, dukkha, not self, anatta, and disgusting, asubha. This is the true nature of the real world we live in. We can see the world like this if our mind is pure and free from defilement. This is the reason why the Buddha exhorted his disciples to develop the right mental concentration to see things as they really are. The right concentration, as mentioned in Mahasatipatthana Sutta, is the concentration associated with the four Rupavachara jhanas, which can be developed by undertaking the meditation on mindfulness of breathing, anapanasati, correctly. In the real world, there are no living beings, no sense objects, no beautiful forms to be craved for or attached to. There are only formless ultimate realities arising and perishing very rapidly under the universal law of cause and effect. If we are not attached to anything, we are free from grief, worry, fear, and sense desire, so we can live very happily. From craving springs grief. From craving springs fear. From him who is fully free from craving, there is no grief, much less fear. Dhammapada 216. But as we are blinded by ignorance, our worldly outlook is just upside down. We see the sense objects around us to be permanent, nittya, pleasant, sukha, self or person, atta, and beautiful, subha. So we crave for them and get attached to them. From craving and attachment spring grief, worry, fear, and despair. So we live in the elusive world enjoying sensual pleasure. We do not know that sensual pleasure is mean and low, because we enjoy it with immoral minds, and we are being burned by the worst worldly fires of greed, anger, and ignorance. It is like the moth's plunging into fire, and we shall be born in woeful abodes after death. If we can make wise reflection yoniso manasikara, moral minds will arise and our actions and speeches will be blameless, so we can live happily without stress and strain. To make wise reflection the true nature of sense objects with respect to impermanence, suffering, not self, and repulsiveness must be clearly understood and reflected often. Venerable Kanti Sayadaw Abhidhamma Maharatha Guru gave the following advice. Seeing and knowing just conventional realities or concepts give one the wrong view and the wrong knowledge. Seeing and knowing ultimate realities give one the right view and the right knowledge. Concepts do not really exist, only ultimate realities really exist. Speak in terms of concepts with common vocabularies, but know in terms of ultimate realities. The purpose of the ultimate analysis. To see things as they really are is the cherished goal of all lovers of truth, including philosophers and scientists. When one cannot see the true nature of things, one sees the distorted picture and maintains the wrong view about them. One basic wrong view which has plagued man for aeons is personality belief, Sakaya Ditti, interpreting the combination of body and mind as an individual or I or Atta. Because of this personality belief, everyone wants to be a very important person, VIP, wants to pile up possessions for the benefit of I, and behaves in a very selfish way. In fact, all sorts of troubles and miseries spring up from this wrong view. Seeing others as a person, a man, a woman, an individual is also personality belief. Sakaya Ditti gives rise to other wrong views which are uncountable in the world today. The dreadful thing about personality belief is that it can couple with bad karma to throw one down to the woeful abodes again and again. According to the Buddha's teaching, to get rid of personality belief is most important and most urgent. It is as urgent as putting out the fire on one's head when one's head is on fire, and as removing the spear and treating the wound on one's chest when the chest is impaled by a spear. The study of Abhidhamma furnishes one with the right view that I or Atta does not exist, and what really exists in a man are consciousness, mental factors, and materiality arising and perishing very rapidly. Understanding the mental states can help one to control one's temperament and to avoid unwholesome mental states, thus reducing mental tension and curing many mental diseases. When one understands that volition, chaitana, that directs one's action, speech, and thought, bears karmic properties which cause the rebirth and shape the destiny of beings, one becomes mindful to avoid unwholesome volitions and unwholesome actions. Furthermore, When one understands the causal relations described in Abhidhamma, one can get rid of all wrong views and develop the right view, understanding correctly what is going on in the world. When one decides to follow the Noble Eightfold Path to free oneself from all miseries, one begins with the right view and develops morality, sila, concentration, samadhi, and wisdom, panya, step by step. In so doing, one has to undertake tranquility, samatha meditation, and insight, vipassana meditation, and try to observe how all phenomena described in the Abhidhamma really take place. So, the ultimate analysis in Abhidhamma is not for the pleasure of reading, nor for the sake of knowledge alone. It is also to be scrutinized by the concentrated mind, I, in order to develop insight wisdom leading to the path wisdom and its fruition wisdom, and to eternal peace and unique happiness called Nibbana. Mind creates miseries and happiness. All mental phenomena have mind as their forerunner. They have mind as their chief. They are mind-made. If one thinks, speaks, or acts with an evil mind, misery follows him just as the wheel follows the hoofs of the oxen that draws the cart. If one thinks, speaks, or acts with a pure mind, happiness follows him like his shadow that never leaves him. Dhammapada verses 1 and 2.